one day that was, pretty good.
So
And then it
you were
was just
talking
right
about
back home.
you were talking about the, God, I'm trying to remember what the hell I'm trying to remember here.
That
The
sounds familiar.
11/11 was on a Thursday.
Yes.
And then we messaged, I think, the following Monday. But that period was um, like 10, 11, 12, right? And then you said that weekend was rough. The week was good. And I wouldn't say rough, but yeah, I got what you were saying. That post 11/11, it just got really like every morning I'd wake up and be like, you know, for like
Yes.
5 days. Hell, I don't know anymore. All
Yeah,
this
it was,
information.
the 11th for
Yeah.
me felt like I was waking up in a new world. It felt just amazing. And it was just all this information coming in.
Yeah.
I was in a forest. It was so beautiful. It was just like this bubbly joy and, celebration type of feeling. And then,
Then what?
from the
Then
next day, it was
then
just like, what the hell?
the
And
bottom
so
fell
much,
out.
past stuff coming up and crying and, it
Sorry, I didn't
was.
mean
And
to
then on
laugh.
the Monday, it was my birthday, so it was a lot coming up
What
around
day?
that.
What day was your birthday?
The 15th,
Of
last Monday,
November. Oh, so that would have been what, Saturday, right?
the Monday 1 week ago.
Oh yeah, 11+4, not 11+2. I got. Hang on, I can't. The lighting in here
Oh
is.
goodness!
I don't usually worry about the lighting, but I can't. I can't really. Can't focus with all that light on. Yeah,
You have
yeah.
enough light within.
Hmm.
You have
Inner
enough
light.
light within.
So you just had a birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
God, um, yeah. So like, it seemed like the same cycle as last month. The
Yeah.
10th, 11th, and 12th. Um, yeah, the last month was like that. Then there was like a 7 or 8, 10-day period of just integration, and then about this time, it picked up again. Like around the 22nd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Tuesday,
just talking.
Wednesday, and Thursday, I was
Yeah,
flat out in bed,
on this past Thursday.
wiped out completely.
Yeah, I've had days where you just lay around all day long. Like you almost feel like you should be doing something, but you can't. You don't even care. You're just like, I gotta lay down. I talked to Kimberly last night.
How's she doing?
She's doing good.
Mm.
She's doing. She's staying busy. She's just staying busy, and she's in the process of packing everything up. She's moving out. But we were talking last night, and she's like, it's only been 30 days. On the 20th, it was 30 days since Franco transitioned. I'm like, oh my God, that seems like it's been months.
Yeah.
But that all
Yeah.
I told her, I said, he went out like a boss. He went out like with an energetic footprint, because that was a very powerful time already.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I was in that first, not on the Zoom, but participated in that first gathering you held
Yeah,
for him.
yeah. Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And I could really feel it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that week when he transitioned, I was told, I think 3 weeks in advance, and it's the only time it has happened that I got told to not make any plans after the Tuesday that week and the rest of that week.
Really?
And they didn't tell me anything about why. It was just like, don't make any plans. So I was like, okay.
That's what I feel like this week is.
Yeah.
Like just integrate. Of course, I got 16 shows lined up, but
Wow. How are you managing all of that? I mean,
I don't know. We'll see if it happens. I mean, maybe I'll have to go on a vacation. I mean, it's been kind of a struggle. What were you just saying? God, it's something you were just talking about. There was something relevant to it. First show of the day, I'm a little bit punchy. You were talking about not doing anything. I was going to tell you. Okay, so we met this really cool couple of ladies uh, about 65 to 70. Been together 10 years. They're from Germany. Anyway, we met them a couple of years ago when we were on the road. And so they've been living in Southern California for quite some time. Anyway, they messaged me the other day and they said, "Can we get your email? We're going to go on Facebook at the end of the year." Well, they got like 2 weeks ago, they got guidance that said, "Pack all your stuff. You're going to be leaving. You'll find out where by Christmas." So they're packing their whole house up that they've lived in. It was like a shrine. I mean, this place was like one big altar, the backyard, everything. And
Wow.
so and I was just marveling at it, going, "Oh my God, these two women are going to pack up their whole house. They don't know where they're going, but they know they're going." Like, that's pretty powerful. And I think there's a lot of people doing stuff
Incredible. And just following that guidance, it takes
at
courage.
that age. Hell, I'm 60. I don't know if I'd do that in another 10 years. uh,
Well, I'm 36. I mean, it's
hmm.
a message like that would be challenging,
Well, I think a
just
lot. I think we're.
without knowing anything more. But
Yeah,
it's the way it's going to be. It's the
I,
unknown.
I think so. I think so. I mean, I'm just marveling at their age. I know them personally. I know how anchored they are or have been, but the lifestyle or the guidance or it's their daily life and has been,
Yeah.
like all of us. And so they're doing that. I'm just going, wow, because they're not like wealthy or anything like that either.
Mm.
They're just like every one of us, just month to month, right? But I
Wow.
think you're right. I think this is what's happening.
Yeah, it's strange because it feels like it's so difficult to put into words, but it's like, that old way of living and, structure and
Yeah,
plans, and,
yeah.
things making sense. And then it's like nothing makes sense and no plans. And, you know, it will sort itself out. And it's like, just flowing back and forth a bit and just, yeah, it's
Keep
a
your
weird space right now.
Yeah, you just keep your fingers crossed and hope it all works out.
Yeah.
I'm just No, but there does. I felt like it was different after the power days of October 10, 11, and 12.
Yeah.
But I felt like on the 13th, like I was like, oh man, it's done. And even though there was a lot of integration, I saw people projecting, I saw different things, but yeah, it seems just a totally different kind of deal. And then we had this eclipse, what, like 2 days ago, 3 days ago, and then the other one occurs on December the 4th.
Yeah.
So that there's like a period there. To me, it feels like a creative period. Like,
Yeah.
what do you want? What do you want to accomplish? What are your dreams? And kind of like anchoring that. But what
And
do I
that's
know?
so important because it's, how it looks in the world and how it's, well, most
Mm-hmm.
probably going to look and intensify. It's so important to keep that focus, right? Because we are creating the new
Yeah,
while this all is collapsing. And it's so easy to get drawn into the intensity and the narratives and, the all the everything that is going on and happening. And so it's that's really the most important thing, is to stay focused on, being in the heart and creating, and take, of course, everything that comes up when it comes up,
I
but
agree.
really focus on that.
I agree with that 100%. I believe that that's what we're supposed to do, create our way out.
Yeah.
That's what I've always heard, but now it takes on a different meaning. But you see these people, 1 million people marched in Australia this past weekend. And then they had huge turnouts in Austria, Italy, France. I mean,
Even in Oslo it was a rally this weekend.
is that right?
Yeah.
See, I thought Norway was pretty open. I always considered them like open-minded, progressive. There's just so many things I could point to. But I was listening to a podcast the other day with Snoop Dogg, and I think Joe Rogan, and he said like you don't want to get busted with pot in Norway. Like it's a big deal, right? I thought you're kidding me. You would think that they're like super cool over there, but he's like, no, man. He was coming from the airport, and they stopped his bus, and yeah, they booked him.
Yeah, yeah, you don't want that.
Isn't that
They
crazy?
don't sell alcohol after a certain, hour in the evening, and more than, is it 4.8% or something you only get in the liquor
Yeah,
store, not in normal. Like, so it's very, it's a bit, what can I say, like kindergarten ish. Like, we have rules and we have like our ways, and it's like this, but people are behaving well, it's always sort of been like that.
yeah.
Though people are liberal, and the, like, in the sense of women having the rights to vote was really early in Norway, and so these kind of things have been very progressive here. But it's also a very, we do what we are being told to do, and
Are
we
they?
just
Are they?
follow sort
But
of.
they're not having. They're not having like curfews and quarantines, and are they enforcing all that? I thought, huh? They are. I didn't know that.
We were the first summer after it all started. We didn't have like masks and those kind of
I
things. That
remember
didn't
that.
start until like November last year. They started with the mask stuff. Then, I think it's about 2 months ago now, they opened everything again. So the society was completely open. You can do what you want.
But they were protesting in Oslo.
Yeah,
They were.
now, because 2 weeks ago they held a press conference,
Yeah.
and they said, the numbers are rising.
Yeah.
And this summer they said that they would not start with the passports in Norway. Now they're saying that they will open for local, in cities where the numbers are high, they can start using the passport. So during that press conference, so many people were going in online to see how, the status of their passport. So the whole system broke down during the press conference.
Wow.
So, I think it's always been, there is a lot of history here, right? And there's a lot of different energies. And I think it's been, it's very safe here. Like, the police is not armed. You can, it's very safe.
So they're not going to tase people and beat the hell out of them and all that. The police don't. I mean, that's not something you normally see, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah,
Not
because
at
I
all.
saw I saw a video on Norwegian prisons, and it was like mind blowing. Like it was like being in school. You
Oh
know,
yeah, you can get higher education.
yeah, it was like just it's very cool. But I mean, bottom line is, I don't see people. Uh, I don't see people putting up with stuff like this anymore. That's what I'm feeling like. A lot of people, Franco included. I say a lot of people. There was 3 or 4 or 5 people that talked about the period between August and November, that there would be all these aspects dropping in, or walk-ins, or however you want to
Mhm.
say it, like to the tune of 6 billion,
Yeah.
and there's 8 billion people. So a lot of people are getting upgraded, if that's accurate. But to me, it feels accurate. It feels like that most everybody's leveled up, and our human part of us hasn't really figured it out yet, but it's starting to show itself. I think it's going to be a hell of a Christmas.
Oh, it is. It
Are
definitely
you
is.
have you
And
gotten
it's
any?
getting more intense in Europe, because I think,
Yeah,
like, for example, here in Norway, where everything is pretty safe, and it's calm, and everything that is sort of happening is always happening out there somewhere. So we can just sit here and we can, give our peace prize, and we can, just go about our days normally. That's since the Second World War. That's
yeah.
I mean, generalizing, but it's compared to many places in the world, it's a rich country, it's
Mhm.
peaceful. And now with the things suddenly happening now in Europe that a lot of people haven't seen coming, and this that is happening in Austria, and now suddenly they're going to bring in the passports here as well. It's, I think it's people have to, to think about it in a different way, because it's no longer just out there somewhere, not concerning me. So
Yeah.
it has another, another potential, or a higher potential to wake people up, I think, because it's like, okay, it's actually in my backyard now. I have to deal with this. It's not
Yeah, I
just
think
something
so.
news. And I
I
think
think,
that's important.
yeah, I think so. I think people have had enough. But again, it's just a catalyst. It's like energetically speaking, I don't think you're going to hear people saying those people are asleep, those people are asleep, those people are asleep as much as we used to. I think more and more people are getting it. And it may not be like in the conversations or the language that we speak here, but they're still saying, hey, this just isn't going to work. Yeah. But
Yeah.
like, I know you, I have not caught like probably your last three videos, maybe two of the last five. Uh, and but I'd stop and I look at them and I read, and a couple of them I watched, but it's been about 3 weeks. But God, I saw a couple. I can't recall exactly what they were about. But have you gotten any collective intel like you've been getting before earlier in the year? Have you gotten anything like what the hell's going on kind of information?
Yes, there's a lot now.
Is it?
It's Yeah, it's a lot coming through. So I do have some channelings recorded
You
that
do?
I still have to listen to, because I haven't like been able to go through it all yet, because it's so much information. But what they told me around that time of the 10th, 11th, was that there's sort of like a magnetic pull on the truth now. So we can't hold back our truth anymore. It's sort of just this magnetic pull. So it will create, both collectively, of course, in the external and in the internal, sort of like a storm. It's how it will feel to shake up and get out what's not the truth. And then there's a lot of information about, the inner earth, and also the frequencies coming in from the universe, the new grid, and how things are no longer anchoring into the old grid. So even though the new grid isn't like fully set and everything is like moving or flowing through the new grid, it's no longer possible to anchor it in the old grid. And
Yeah.
so that's also what we are feeling, as well as in the collective. So everything that has been anchored in the old grid, or in a distorted type of pattern, will now be coming up, because it doesn't have anywhere to anchor in, or ground in anymore.
I've noticed that with myself. I've noticed that like if I want to like play a loop in my head, like, oh, Kristin did this, and that means that, and and like how what I'm saying, like the ego, imagination running wild. Not that it happens a lot, but I've noticed that like certain things of that nature, of that frequency, I can't go there. They won't
Yeah,
stick. They won't stick.
exactly.
Like
Exactly.
victim consciousness, like thoughts in your head, they won't stick.
Yeah.
Uh, distraction, doing something to distract myself won't stick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just won't last. So you're getting kind of the same thing collectively.
Absolutely. And it's
And
very interesting when you're bringing up the ego, because it's, a lot of distortions held there. And I had this experience, and, it might be that I now sound completely insane, but I had this experience that weekend, when we messaged, and I was, just really having a struggle
No, that was just
The
10 days ago.
13th,
Yeah.
12th, 13th, 14th.
Yeah.
I had a lot of old stuff coming up, and that's okay. It's I got it, and the normal process whenever something comes up. But I also had this the whole week prior, almost like two voices talking from, like, as if it was my head, but I didn't have any attachment to it. It was almost like when I can hear a guide or hear something coming in, but it felt like it's coming from the inside of me, sort of like when you hear your own thoughts. But it wasn't that central part of me when I normally think it. I'm sounding pretty weird now.
No, 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 you're
Anyways,
not. Now,
there's
was
one
it?
voice that was
Yeah.
really codependent and one that was really narcissistic.
Oh,
And it was just like I
You
was
had
going through
two?
my whole week.
You had one that was codependent and one that was narcissistic.
Yes.
Plus, you have your other voice.
Plus
Okay.
my central
Okay. Okay.
normal
Keep going. Okay. This is cool.
sense. And so this was that whole week prior that felt pretty good. But I just kept observing these voices because it was like this codependent voice was rather familiar because it was this people pleasing and need of approval and all these things that that has been my pattern that I've been working on and releasing. So I could recognize that from my life. But then it was this really narcissistic thing that was very unfamiliar for me. And I was like, where's this coming from? Like, just like commenting on things, sort of. And
So
I
was it?
didn't act on any of them because it didn't feel like me, but it was just like a voice that at the
Wow.
same time would comment on something in a very codependent way and in a very narcissistic way. So I was just observing because it was at the same time, both of them.
So was the narcissistic voice, was it like judging you or judging other people?
Everything.
Yeah. God, I
Everything.
haven't heard it like that, broken down like that. But I noticed, so I noticed that, and several people said this last week. They were like, it's like I'm watching myself, but I'm going through it. And there's, for me, there's the two voices. And I always say the little me, the big me. But like, see, Kimberly asked me a question last night when I was talking to her. She said, how do you get past like something that's um, distracting? Like a habit you have that's or whatever the situation was. And I said, what I do sometimes is I actually bring it forward. I'll just
Mm.
do it, or I'll think it,
Yeah.
I'll just bathe in the victim consciousness in my head,
Yeah.
and I'll just do it instead of resisting it. And it's really funny because I can clearly hear the distinction between the two voices. One of them's like, "Oh my God, are you going to do that? Go ahead." And then the
Yeah.
other one starts crying and moaning, and then it just becomes funny. But
Yeah.
you said narcissistic, and the other one, see,
Codependent. Yeah, and it
codependent.
was at the same time, so I could just be
Uh,
like, just observing them both and really see. And it, I think it lasted up till the 11th probably. So it was like 4 or 5 days
is that right?
that was going on.
That's like Hell Week. It's like
Yeah,
Hell Week.
it was quite interesting because it didn't feel like me. So it was no attachment, no emotion, no, like I didn't believe it, or it was just like
You
a
were just,
documentary
yeah.
going on, sort of.
It's like
And then
somebody,
it
yeah.
came deeper and deeper and deeper as I was observing it until the last day when it released. It was just like it was shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, these two
Yeah.
voices, or the power in them, as I was just listening to them. And just, it was fascinating really to see, sort of be able to see those two outlooks so clearly at the same time on the world, at the same time as I saw my normal perspective.
Yeah.
And a bit disturbing at times, how it actually can be. But then the last day, it was like it's the lack of self-love. That
Now
is,
this is
that's the same thing that is
yeah,
feeding both of those voices. And some people go in that
lack of,
direction, some people go
yeah.
in that direction. but it's the lack of self-love that is the core of it. And I could see that so clearly watching this over that week. So yeah.
So
It was
what you're saying is the self-worth, the lack of self-worth is going away too.
yeah,
Which is I talked to Morgan just briefly yesterday, and she said, I said, what happened last night? She said, well, I got what's coming up now, which is the lack of self-worth going away. Or like
yeah,
last month was survival. Uh, it felt to me like judgment was going away.
hmm
And then like what you're describing, I've seen some of that and I've experienced some of that too, where it's just playing in your head and you're just like, oh, that's weird. But it's not even like attaching, you're just hearing it, almost like an
hmm
echo or something, right? And I've heard other people talking about this, kind of observing the identities or the voices that are dying, basically.
yeah, yeah. And it was interesting as one of them were, very familiar to me from my own patterning throughout his life, and the
Yeah.
other one completely unfamiliar to me. So
Which
it was
was
very fascinating to see them and then to see how similar they actually were in the end.
the codependent and the narcissist. Yeah, that would be the same energy, wouldn't it?
Exactly.
You know what
Though in the
amazes?
beginning it sounded, like
So
so different.
which voice was it that you weren't accustomed to hearing? The narcissistic voice.
Yeah.
See, I find it. And see, to me, what's happening there? They may not be polarities, but they're the same thing, like you're talking about. Because the
Yeah.
narcissistic, well, let's just say a narcissistic frequency is a codependent frequency. It has to
Exactly.
have something to play with or to toy with. But what
Exactly.
amazes me, and I think it's changing, I think people are becoming more open to the spectrum and not saying, oh, I'm not like that. And what I'm saying is, it amazed me a little bit over the years how many people thought they weren't or that they didn't have narcissistic frequencies. We all do. I mean,
We
we
all
all
do,
do.
of
There's
course.
no there's no way you could go through this patriarchal conditioning and not have some level of narcissism. There's just and it's just but it's interesting because of what you're saying, that tells me that it's going away. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, I mean, there's so many ways to explain. If you go back to Franco in January 2020, he said the inverted matrix is shut down,
Mm.
and the only thing that will keep these low vibrational loops going is going to be our own egos, which will be fading over time. And see, to me, I feel like that feels like it's happening. And the other thing that feels like it's happening that he and other people talked about was that the past won't be the same anymore. The past will be like a memory, but it won't be a point of context. Like
Yes.
you know what I mean? Like so, like say
Yes.
you and I 3 years ago, we had a conflict, and we didn't totally resolve it. We
Mm.
might run into each other today, and that memory's there, but there's no charge to it. You
Yeah.
see? So to me, that's
Which
another
is
thing.
because we're freeing ourselves, and then it doesn't, we don't want to hold on to that grudge anymore.
Yeah. I think it's
So
happening naturally too.
it is. It is.
I
It's
think,
really a natural part of the process, and everything is happening so rapidly now. Like it's fascinating and it's really weird, everything that is happening. Um, and it's, I had some days ago, or maybe a couple of weeks, who knows? Time is weird. Anyways, I was looking at my phone to see the time. So I was going into my kitchen to clean up, and it said it was 13:15 because we have this 24-hour clock. And then when I was finished cleaning up, I went back and I watched the time, and it said it was 13:03. I was like, that's pretty effective.
I think things like that are happening.
Yeah.
I really do. The number thing is really it's not freaking me out. Like I remember, I think it was 2 days ago. I woke up and I'm like totally off planet. I've slept like 2 hours. I'm just like, and I heard those things playing. I heard old tapes playing in my head, like, but they wouldn't stick. And then I was sitting there and I was like, you know, I, I just, I felt like that time was going backwards, or I was jumping timelines, or there was just weird stuff happening, because I kept getting, every time I'd go, oh my god, what the hell's going on, and then I'd look and say 444 or 1111 or 22:2, and I kept getting these confirmations, you're okay. I'm like, I don't feel okay, but there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah.
So so you haven't, somebody asked, somebody just subscribed to your channel and they said, which video are you speaking of? I don't think we weren't really speaking of any particular video, were we? I didn't want to be disrespectful to her. Yeah. So how's it going with the blue beans?
They're excited.
Have you had any visuals with them lately? With those who you channel through?
I have. You're always asking so spot on things on what's just going on, right now. So I had this experience when I'm sort of just out and about now, and it's been happening more so last 1.5, 2 weeks, that I really feel that frequency within me when I'm in interaction with some people that I don't know. So it's almost like just in the conversation, I just feel this like really, it's like I get like super grounded and super calm. And I'm just like observing it all. And I'm like, this is what's happening now. And it just feels like this energy is just like pouring out, and everything gets like a bit bluish in my vision when this is happening. And it just like total random strangers. And it turns into this really profound conversations.
Really?
And, until like, the point where, people are just tearing up, and like, saying like, what is it? Like, what's happening, or what?
So you're just like, you're just out and about and you'll come in contact with somebody you don't know. You get the feeling inside of yourself. You start having a conversation and they start crying and stuff like that. Really? Is that happening a lot?
The last couple of weeks, it's been happening several times.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And it's nothing I'm like conscious about, or like I'm trying to do something.
Right,
it's just
right.
like,
It's just
I'm going
happening.
about my day, just
Yeah.
being who I am. And then suddenly like conversation starts, and it's just like, boom, something just happening.
I wouldn't doubt it that we'll start seeing more and more of that. I was thinking about this last night. I was just thinking, it really is us now. I remember a couple of years ago traveling with Morgan, and every night was something coming up. Something was showing itself. And I'd be like, man, I wonder what it's going to be tomorrow. And she goes, it's going to be us. And that's the first time I ever thought about that, but it's happening now. Like, it's happening. The light body stuff going on, everything, the telepathy, the movement people are making, that are having. There's just lots of stuff. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing, people that are illuminated, auras, situations like you're having. I mean, yeah, especially after the last 30 days
as well.
Oh, the children,
Yeah,
that's trippy.
it's amazing. It's like just walking on the street, and suddenly like there's this super tiny head just turning around and looking at you, and it's like looking straight through you, and then they start communicating, some of them, and it's like it's fascinating. It's never been that fascinating walking around on the street as it is now.
I did see that you had a birthday. Now that I think about it, because you were at like a dinner or a lunch with a friend of yours.
Yes.
Right. So do you have? Because I know your story. with the Lyme's disease and all the self-healing and isolation. And I met you when you were first coming out with the YouTube channel. And, so like I've watched a lot of people and myself really expand and change. Do you have much of a, like a support system locally, like where you live rather than online? I mean, are you able to like interact with people that don't think you're crazy, or do they all think you're crazy?
No, they don't think I'm crazy. I have a very small circle,
Yeah.
because that has sort of just naturally become that way over the last years. It was the total opposite
Yeah.
before this whole journey started. But like, for example, the one I was with on my birthday, she's a Reiki master. She's like, we went to high school together, actually.
Wow.
And then, we've always been in touch, but it has been, sometimes several years between the times we have met each other. Because, she moved to Brazil and I was in Norway. Then I moved to Spain and she was in Norway. Then she moved to Portugal. And, it was like back and forth. And now we live like 2 kilometers away from each other,
Wow.
right when this all started. So that's, it's interesting, because we haven't lived this close to each other since high school, really.
Can't there's no mistakes, right?
It's interesting. And then there are, the few people I'm close with, I talk with them about these things and they experience things as well.
Really?
Yeah. But then, just, most people don't, like in general, but I think it's natural, you want to have conversations about the things you're experiencing and about, how you see things. And, you with people you're able to conversate with. And if you have completely different interests, and, it sort of goes that way naturally.
Yeah.
Um, but I also
Yeah.
find, people are asking more, people I know that
That's what I was talking about.
that have not been on this type of journey, that they start asking a bit more, like a bit more curiosity, like, what is this
Yeah.
really
So
about?
were you hatched out of an egg, or was it a spaceship? Not really. But like, yeah, I feel this. And something I've noticed too, like we've always gotten suppressed from time to time, but it's had its limits. And over the last month, we were getting suppressed like we never had before. Like, I mean, it's really intense. And I've gotten another message from Facebook just in the last week that said, you continually violate something and we're going to reduce the distribution of your videos. So I'm not like getting a charge about it. I'm just looking at it going, oh, wow, that's interesting. That's kind of interesting. And I can feel like the deconstruction occurring, and
Yeah.
the need to, or the opportunity to create something different. And this isn't all new stuff, but a lot of the stuff that we've talked about over the years is actually happening now.
It
It's
is.
actually happening. Like people are
Yes.
having experiences, and whatever you said at the beginning of the show, like and that's what I've been getting the last couple of days, is that the truth has to come out. It just
Yeah.
has to come out. So I was like sitting with it going, okay, well, I have a hard time talking about injustice without getting a charge. And I was just hearing like, look, you can talk about it. It's important to talk about it. And the reason it's important to talk about it from a neutral place is that the information itself is a code, and it activates dormant code in other people. So it's
Mhm.
actually very powerful for us to talk about and just say, hey, look, that orange is orange and that apple is red, just not, whatever it may be, whether it's human trafficking, sex trafficking, quarantines, whatever, just to say, here's the situation.
Yeah,
And not to say, hey, come on my side. And I thought, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. People hear it, and then it turns on the truth, basically.
exactly. And that's, the whole thing of expressing your own frequency and your own truth rather than going around trying to change others. And those that come in contact with your frequency, they will, get impacted in some sort of way. But it's no attachment to what they want to do with it, whether they actually want to listen or not. Like, that's their journey,
Yeah.
but not
That's right.
holding back from speaking our truth.
Yeah.
I think that's very, very important now.
So how did things go after you channeled with us the last time? That was the first time you'd ever done that. That was just crazy. That was like,
Yes,
whoa. And I think I
definitely.
caught one of the videos. I did catch you channeled a little bit. Yeah. Or light language.
Yeah, light
Uh,
language. Yeah.
but yeah, that was wild. Did you have anything happen after that? Because there was like, I want to say there was 3 or 4 women came on since then that did something for the first time,
Yeah.
like you did. I'm like, what's going on here? But
Yeah, it's kind of like that with you. The first time I was on in August last year, that was the first time I actually had my name on something because I didn't have my name on my YouTube channel. So that was the first time it came on my personal Facebook page.
mm,
And, then now I was channeling for the first time publicly. I mean, except light language, which I had done before. But so I normally feel it before, like the last 1.5 hour before we came on now, like there's so much energy moving in the body, and my body started like moving, and the third eye and the crown just like really, really
wow.
crazy. But I really felt the kundalini moving a lot more in the body the next
Since
days
then,
after that. Yeah.
yeah, I can relate to that. There's a lot
And
of
a
that
lot of fear releasing, because it
fear.
was really one of my biggest fears. And it's something I said, like, since the first day I experienced the channeling, like, I'm never going to do this in front of people. I can
Much
do it
less
on a recorder, and I can, share the messages or whatever, but I'm not going to do this in
well,
front of people.
and this is
So,
another thing that's happened too. And I think this has happened since about 30 days, right? Like about 3 to 4 weeks. And what I've noticed is that I'm getting so many messages and emails, and most of them are in regard to coming on the show.
yeah,
But where it used to be a handful a day, right? Like some days you might have a bunch, but it typically average a handful a day.
yeah.
Now it's like 25 or 30 a day.
Wow.
So
Wow.
if I look at this week, so there's 16 shows, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Half of them are new people.
Wow.
So there's something going on with people wanting to be heard now. They're
Yeah.
wanting to step up. They see somebody doing it, so they want to step up. And
Yeah.
it's
And I also
creating.
think, they see the importance and the potential for help and support for others in doing so, because there's so much coding in it and so much freeing, like, you know when I did that first time, it was really, really freeing. The first time I was on, I was so freaking nervous. I was, like this tense in my body the first show, because I had never been on a live. I had never had my name on anything that had to do with this, so it was still like kind of doing my YouTube channel on the side, but no one
Yeah,
had to
you
know.
just started it. Well, there's something about doing it. You do it, whatever it is, and then it's empowering.
It
Like
is, and
you're.
I think now it's it's both that we really can see the value for others because there's so many more people, and it's like, the way the external looks is like we can't just walk about, doing things like we always did them. There's change happening, and so there's more of a like it's emerging more from within, like this. Okay, I'll just do it because I'm not going to lose anything by doing it.
Right.
And it's valuable for others.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Again, I was talking to Kimberly yesterday, and they have several different platforms, right? Like on YouTube and Facebook groups and stuff. But they have this one group, and it's like a paid membership.
mm,
They've never really promoted it a lot, but it's just something. So what it was basically is that twice a month they would meet with these people. Everybody gets on a Zoom screen, and they would have like a question and answer thing.
yeah.
It's like, how are you doing? Kind of was the theme of it. Anyway, she had her first meeting with him this past week since Franco transitioned, and she was telling me that she was letting them know that do you want to keep this going, and they were like, very much so, yes. And she was just explaining to him that she wanted to change the format, and so the
Mhm.
format would be, how are you doing, but everybody answers and asks questions. So in other words, there's not one person, that whoever's pulling the information in at the time that can offer the code would speak. It's a pretty
I
interesting
love that.
concept. Yeah, I mean, it
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. You think about things like that or of that nature, and you think, oh, it's not going to happen because somebody's going to do this and somebody's going to do that. I've played with this a lot with Soulogy, like just different things, just having faith in the process, or you know and that's what I keep getting, is if you keep using it, it will expand. Like the magic will expand, the telepathy will expand. But if you keep reverting to the old patterns and practices, then it'll just be stagnant potential,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think it's really fascinating with what's happening now, because it's like I'm seeing so much at the same time. It's with the different places in the world now, like for example in Europe, where things are really tightening up
Yeah.
now, and there's been information coming in on that, and then at the same time, with Australia, for example, it looks really amazing what I'm seeing there now. And there's like, I see this huge crystal.
Well, tell me about it. What do you mean? You're talking about what you see in the ethers, right? Or what you see on the grid? So
Yes.
what are you seeing in Australia? Because I know you had information with that was going on, like even like a year ago or like a few
Yeah.
months ago for sure. And it was, I remember the information you had, and it was like you were like going, why am I getting this information? So you got more information, for example, on Australia. What are you seeing now? A big crystal?
It's amazing. So I where to start? Um, so I've been seeing like almost like this twinkling, like colors shining, like suddenly, like both with my physical eyes
Really?
and with the third eye, like, and then I'm being drawn sort of to, for now it has been mostly to Australia, and I see this huge, I don't know what you can call it, but like a castle, a temple, like really amazing kind of building, and in crystals in the inner earth
Wow.
underneath Australia. And so before I saw this whole thing, I started seeing pyramids just all over Australia. And I kept asking, like, what are these pyramids? What is it? They didn't show me anything. It was just like I saw these pyramids popping up all over Australia. And then I saw South Africa. And I saw energy moving from South Africa and towards these pyramids that I saw popping up in Australia. And then after that had been going on for a while, I saw all these crystals in the earth. And what I've been receiving is that now the crystals are activating
Activated.
in the earth. And so this energy is rising up from the earth. And that energy is now, so that was a shift I was told on the 11th, that now the energy that is coming from the crystals and from the inner earth is now going directly into the new grid.
Yeah, that would make sense to me, that a lot of these structures, these pyramids and other sacred site structures like Stonehenge, that they're being activated because
Yeah.
everybody's hearing more tones too. Everybody's talking about, like, it's turning into a ringing in the ears. Some people are saying that's happened to me. It gets really loud. If I'm laying on the couch and I start to hear, and it's late, I've been trying to go to bed earlier, and I'll hear a tone. It's like, you need to go to bed, literally. And then I'll hear it again, and then I'll hear it again. And I know it's a signal. You need to, like, stop what you're doing, go lay down, not to go to sleep, but to open up the doors to information and so on.
Yeah. It's absolutely fascinating. And I've also been told that these crystals will draw on the water. So the waters on the earth will start moving, is what they told me. And they said there's nothing wrong about this. It's just the way
Yeah.
it's almost like instead of the normal tides, it will be the crystals now starting to move the waters. So the waters will move.
See, what I find really interesting too is you've got these people that are playing the role of, like, let's just face it, like, in trying to enforce these restrictions and, all the mandates and all that, and yet all this other stuff's going on. I can't believe for 1 second that those who might be pushing the buttons are not aware of what's happening and how fruitless it is to resist it because it's happening. Like,
Of course, but the only way they can try, but
I understand. Yeah.
to stop it is to distract our
That's
energy.
true. That's
So
true.
if you distract our thoughts, you have our energy, and then we are not paying attention to what we are experiencing. So the
That's
more
true.
narratives, the more control, the more fighting, the more discussion they can get us into,
Yeah.
the less
That's
energy
true.
do we have to put into creation and into observing what's unfolding.
Yeah, I think that's very true. It's interesting too because, like, they had this Kyle Rittenhouse trial. The young white kid shot a couple of people at a BLM rally a year ago or whatever. But he was also guarding his grandparents' gas station, and there was more to it. But they had it filmed, and everybody could watch it. It was on the news all day long, every day. And so, yeah, I could clearly see where that was about distraction. It was about creating division, because you could see it in the propaganda, both sides. And then you got Ghislaine Maxwell, whose trial started. They're not filming it. They're not talking about it. So there's this one part to distract you, and there's this other part where the information's trying to be held down so nobody finds out, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right? That's what I was talking about earlier. Like, I was understanding that it's okay to talk about these things with no charge, not to choose a side, but just so people will go, because their soul will hear it. Like, oh, that really is going on. So that in their heart and mind, they go, I'm not going to stand for that. It really breaks
Yes.
down from
It
the choice.
activates like some sort of resonance that once activated, it won't go back to sleep, so to speak.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a lot of people that are getting nudged to wake up over these last 30 days, like big time. Big
Big
time.
time. They said how was it? They said now the mass part of the Great Awakening is starting.
The
They
what?
said a couple of weeks ago. The mass part. So the masses
Oh, the
starting to
masses.
masses.
Yeah,
Masses.
I like your
Yes.
accent. Mosses. But no, okay. That's what your team told you. The
Hmm.
masses, now it's the masses. That makes sense to me. Because last month, one of the things too that I felt like, or however you call that, was that so many of us were like going, "Hey, you know what? I've had enough of this." Okay. I mean, I'm talking about the whole series of incarnations and the whole Earth mission. Like, I've had enough. Enough of
Yeah.
this holding it, hold. And I really felt like that energetically, people went there. People were like, you know what? I've had enough of this.
Yeah.
And so, energetically, what happens? You start speaking your truth. You start standing up for what you believe. You have less of a charge. I think people are regardless of what's being presented in, propaganda wise, I think people are saying it like, let's let everybody, let everybody do what they want to do. I mean, no one's intentionally, you know what I mean? There's a 99% out there, right, that carry the same. They really do, even though we're told differently.
Yeah. And there are, really high frequency beings incarnated in human form taking on a dark role in order to wake people up. So they're playing out that role in order for
Yeah.
people to see what's really going on. So it's not like the so black and white as it can seem for our physical eyes.
Mm-mm. No.
Um, but it's also interesting, like with this, the energies from the inner earth and with the crystals and everything, like the indigenous tribes all over. There's been coming more and more in of council of different elders. A lot of aboriginals as well. I started seeing them last winter, but it's been more like the last couple of weeks, more this sense of celebration.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also, like, as all of this energy is coming up, it's more ancestral healing as well, because it's no longer held as well these distorted patterns and traumas and beliefs. But there's also this ancient wisdom that is coming up and being more accessible.
Yeah.
And I do feel a lot, at least in Europe now. It looks like, and I also had seen it in conversations with people, that ancestral things around the Second World War is being triggered now.
I
So I
bet.
think maybe that's like one of the points where a lot of people in Europe will start eventually seeing that, okay, there are similar patterns here.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking when I saw the footage of Austria, because that's the only place, and I don't look at a lot of it, but I noticed it. And what I'm talking about is where they had said they were shooting. And I looked to see, was anybody hurt? Da, da, da. It didn't say. It actually said nothing's been reported. But I was thinking, wow, because they went total lockdown, vaccinated or not. Uh, was it curfew? Restrictions all the way around. Period. Right, the whole
Yeah.
country, and
And trying to
any
get in a law that from February they
what?
will have to.
Yeah, have a vaccination. Right.
Yeah, because otherwise they can be imprisoned.
Yes, see, that's radical as hell. And so I was thinking what you just said. I was thinking, wow, that's to me, Austria and Germany are pretty much the same to me. I know I'm not European, but they're right next to each other. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I mean, they're common people there. But I was thinking, wow. I mean, I don't see how those people are going to put up with it. And based on what I saw, there's a hell lot of people demonstrating.
Yeah.
So
And I also think I got this in a session I was doing, that it looks like there will be like a turning point in Germany, because there's so many, there are a lot of people, and they also have those patterns and that memory really held.
Yeah,
And so it will be like a sudden turning point when it's like, okay, we're not doing this again.
that's what I feel.
That
That's
will
the
ripple through
yeah.
Europe. So I'm really curious to see if it will look like that in any way. And also the location of Germany, it's, they are close to most of other countries in Europe.
Germany is a powerful, powerful PowerPoint. You know
It
what I
is.
mean? In the on the grid, it's the
Yeah.
people are exceptional. I mean, it's just a powerful place. Yeah, I think you're right too. Though, I think it's going to shift immediately. Not I mean like tomorrow. I'm just saying like when it happens, it's going to be very sudden, and it's going to be one country that starts the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Like for instance, they don't talk about Africa. Africa has a minimal vaccinations and has minimal cases. And every
Yeah.
now and then you'll see an article that'll say scientists are baffled by Africa, because they're not right. I mean, yeah, to me it
I
looks
think
inevitable.
Morocco, though, at least this friend of mine that we talked about earlier, because she
Mhm.
has lived in Morocco as well, and she said, so I haven't read this anywhere, but at least she said that now you're not allowed to enter the country without a vaccine.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
It's so obvious too. And again, not to like talk it to death, but just like you said, especially where they have old patterns of this, like in Germany or Austria.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, like people are just, what is it? You get to a point where you say, look, I don't care. You can kill me, do whatever you want to do.
Mhm.
I'm not worried about it. Like to get to that
That
point.
really came in August for me, like that experience. So okay, if and it's really not coming from a place of that I think that I'm going to transition. Really not at all, because I really don't think so. And I'm really not suicidal. So it's nothing like that. But it was this feeling of, okay, if I'm transitioning, like it doesn't matter. Like this
Yeah.
other, I know it sounds weird in the 3D when you say that, but it's like it was just this whole thing around death, just really,
Yeah.
really shifting a lot. And when it comes to the war, like that was 2 weeks ago. Because all of my four grandparents lived during the war. All of them have transitioned now, but I had things suddenly coming up, around ancestral healing. So just suddenly, and grandparents coming in and seeing things, and I had to talk with my parents, like, do you know if they experienced this? Do you know if this happened? Because this is what I've been shown, and then of course to the core of the emotion, what has been held, and
Yeah.
in the ancestral line.
Wow.
So I think it's coming up for a lot of people.
Well, that would make a lot of sense. Because if you think about it on a wide scale, on a scale this wide, World War II would have been the last one.
And it's the same as within us, right? You get triggered from something or someone outside of you, and you just really don't like it, and you don't, have disgust for this thing or this person that just said this thing, but it is because it resonates with something that you're holding in your body, because it's your own trigger.
Yeah.
And it's the same happening now. It's the frequency we are in is similar in many ways to what was experienced then. So it triggers the memory and it comes up. And when this healing comes to a certain point, I think something will shift in Europe.
But I think that the whole thing about death too, because if survival was being let go, well then death would have to go with it. Because what if there's no such thing as death? There's nothing to survive, kind of thing, right? But for me, it's like, okay, I feel like everything's just gotten more expansive, more expansive, more expansive, better and better and better. That's what I'm picking up from people, even though there's fluctuations. But I'm like of the mind, like if the shoe did drop and there was another bunch of BS or whatever the case was, I'm ready to go. That's kind
Yeah.
of how I feel about it. So to me, I guess it's the same thing. I'm not really afraid to die. I'm not. I'd like to stick around, but not if we're going to go through the same old, which I don't believe we are. I believe we've now entered this period of, what the sacred text called 2,000 years of peace, or whatever the case is, right? I feel like a coronation, a celebration, and a great gathering is happening.
Yes,
How
that's
that
really
looks.
the energy I felt on the 11th. I felt so many indigenous tribes, the elders. That's just like this massive celebration, and so much bubbly joy, and like if it felt like a whole different world, and now it's just like playing out in the physical, the clearing, because it has shifted, so it cannot anchor, and so it cannot continue it.
Yeah,
So
right on.
I'm convinced it's changing. I've been shown most of the messages I've been getting now on the systems, the health system, the technology, and what's going on in Europe. It's a lot first in a timeline of over 3 to 4 months from now, and then they've said that it will be completely different in
When?
a timeline in either 1 or between 1 and 3 years, depending on the choices the humans make.
1 in 3 years. That goes along with what I've gotten from other people. I
Yeah.
mean, Franco talked about 20. To me, you had 2012, and then you had 2021. Those are bookends. So to me, that this period's ending, and whatever, like to me, it's going to be different, just based on the numbers, based on the astrology, whatever you want to call it. The 2022.
Yeah, the
I mean,
2022, they're telling, or they've been saying to me, that is the year of coming together. And that is really, the start of the new systems. And it can, of course, come from, people being stopped in certain areas of their life, and they have to look for new ways of doing things, or, we will see a very different value in people, they're saying, because we will start to look at how we can help each other, what we can provide, not in the time and money type of evaluating people, but really the real value, which then means that a person that is 98 holds a lot of value because of the wisdom and the experiences and what they can tell and share. And like practical skills, for example, will be very, very helpful in the time coming. And so, like creation of communities, ways of coming together, more telepathic contact between people, and so it's really a year of coming together. But of course, it will look intense, at least first part of the year, I think.
yeah, yeah.
But
It's on.
it's just
Game's
what you
on.
said in the beginning about creating, right? It's
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I mean, it's games. It's just a matter of what's it gonna look like. I don't think anybody has an idea. Like I think it's gonna be like a huge shock, like how good it gets. Right? I mean, really.
yeah,
Yeah. And it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. It's
it
happening
is.
already.
It is.
It's just a matter of like, what's it gonna look like? Are we gonna be walking on water? Are we gonna be flying through the air, like teleporting? I mean, I'm absolutely sold on the idea that any of this is possible. Anything that we do in Dimension, anything we do in Lucid Dream, any abilities we have, the way things flow, I feel like any
Yeah,
of
but
this.
this is okay. I'm going to sound insane again.
It's all right.
But I've had the experience now, and it's really weird, but consciously being aware of being in 4 different places at the same time.
4.
Yeah. So obviously here,
Mm-hmm.
and then I have in Australia, but it's been like I just like you can change
We're coming. We're coming.
for you.
I guess not. Another day.
Good.
So you had one here. You have one in. You're having one in Australia at the same time.
Yes. Then I have experienced at the same time being in Sedona, and there I've seen you.
Really?
Yeah, and I haven't been there physically before. And then there's this fourth place, which I don't know where is. It's a snow-capped mountain. It's just a lot of mountains, and I recognize the place because I've seen it in my dreams so many times, and I remember, like I just remember it. But I've seen it, and I felt how the air was very different than
Right.
the air here in Norway, for example. So I can feel the experience physically. And there's been twice, I think, now that it's almost like you can just, I can see there and I see that, and I can shift my focus there and I see what's there. And it's like that I can just shift my focus between those four places. And I can
Wow.
really feel like the climate, the smell, and it's really strange.
Allison said maybe it's Mount Shasta. You know, the snow cap.
Yeah, I seen a picture of that, and it doesn't look like that around.
Yeah. I keep seeing this image of two mountains, and they like whatever it is, it's in between the mountains. I can't explain it. I haven't
So
had.
that's like you're traveling, or you
I
getting
don't
a
know.
vision,
Just a
or
place.
dreams, or
We were in a session, and I saw it. I was in session, and I saw it appear, and then I thought, oh, I've seen this place before. I've been here before. Like kind of like you were talking about. Yeah. The other thing and you know this is that excites me is the whole inner Earth thing. Like I know I've got family down there. I know I've been down there a lot, to
yes,
include the deep ocean and the
yeah,
portals in the deep blue ocean.
yes,
So I don't
and
know.
that's amazing because the energy from the inner earth can be felt so much stronger now because it's so much more of that energy releasing because we're able to hold it. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's getting there. Yeah, we'll have to get together again. Maybe at the end of next month or first of the year.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's God, and all day long. I don't know about you. Like a lot of the last 2 weeks, it's just been like I'm. It's like I'm learning how to do things again. Like I'm learning how to use a computer. I'm learning how to do messages. I'm learning how to do. It's weird. It's really weird. It's like just human stuff.
yeah.
Like I
Well, I don't
can't.
know if I'll ever learn the computer stuff because I'm a disaster when it comes to tech stuff. But I can relate to what you're saying.
But just like normal stuff, like you got to go to the grocery store,
Yeah,
or you got to go, or you got to talk to someone on the phone or something. It's just like it's all like seems like it's different. It's weird. It's new. It's taken some getting used to. Even I don't know. But and then a lot of the time I feel like I'm just in a daze. Like I'm just
yes,
like
yes,
I've had my memory swiped and I'm just like walking around and everything's okay, but it's very physical. It's a very
yes.
physical, uh, like a ramification of whatever's going on. It's hitting my body big time.
Great explanation.
Yeah.
That's, what you just said. Yes.
Crystal cities and new technology, Dr. Joe said. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's another thing that's kind of popped in. I've seen people talking about it too. Is this whole crystal city thing? What is that? And I remember last night the lucid dreams, and it was all crystal cities. Just just a bunch of crystals, like they look like skyscrapers. And I don't remember anything about what happened. I just remember seeing it and going, "Holy crap!" Like it was just incredible. And
Yeah.
I don't know what that's about, but
It's amazing. Yeah, I had at the very same spot in the forest as I saw those blue beings
mm,
physically that time a couple of years ago. I also had, I was standing because I just really love that spot in the forest, and I was standing and I was grounding, and then suddenly I started seeing what I now recognized from what I was being shown underneath Australia with this crystal city and this magnificent building. Well, building, but thing.
Yeah. I got you.
And because I just saw like everything in like pastel colors, and then it was this stairs up to a door, and then it was this really like goddess type of energy, feline being, white, amazingly beautiful, just appearing out of nowhere as I was
A
just, you know,
white,
doing
a
my
white.
grounding, and I was going to continue in the forest.
Hmm.
And I was told that I could go up and go through the door, but I didn't dare to at the time because I was like, I never heard about these beings before. I don't know. Like I was, you know,
Was it
it's
a white cat? Is that what a white
yeah.
feline? Yeah. Yeah, I
So
had
and I saw actually I saw that that door again yesterday, and I haven't seen it for, you know,
do you think it's a door to the new
almost
earth?
two and a half
Do you think it's a door
years
to
ago.
the do you think it's a door to the new earth grid? There you go. So you just go through the door and see what happens.
Yes.
And this thing with the felines or the lyrans or cats, you know, a lot of these things show and then they go away and they show themselves. But man, I had like the last 3 or 4 days, like cat people. I like, you know, like the cat thing is everywhere. The lion people, the felines or lyrans. And I pulled into my driveway. It's kind of like the bat cave. Nobody can come down here, and I just pull in my back driveway. And I have cats, and I have wild animals out here. And there was this freaky cat like 2 or 3 nights ago. I pulled in the driveway, like, and like he was waiting for me. So then that night, which I think was last night or the night before, I had this thing happen where this cat, like I've never seen this type of cat before. It wasn't a little cat. It was like a big cat, you know, like 350 kilos or 400 kilos. It was a big cat, big skinny cat. I remember the print, and I was with it, and it was like, you know, I'm going to eat you. And I'm like, no, man, we're not supposed to do that. We're supposed to be friends. And so I had to become the cat, and I had to mirror the cat. If the cat wanted to get aggressive, I got aggressive. I mean, it was really trippy. I'm like, what is going on with this? But I guess all these things are what, like integration of code, maybe integration of memory or DNA or, you know, something like that.
Wow. Yeah, I can feel it.
Hmm. Yeah.
The there's a lot in what you just said.
Well, I think our attachment to um, like where we've been and what we've been is going away too. Like
Yeah.
it's more about, like I got 2 or 3 days ago. I was telling Morgan, I was like sitting there going, like I had this lucid dream. It was the most 2 nights ago. It was the most powerful lucid dream evening I've ever had, and I've had really powerful lucid dreams. And it was all about us, and we were going. It was like a group of us, and we had created like a, let's just call it a playground. And from that playground, all these people came, and it was too small for the people. So
Hmm.
a new playground was created, much bigger. So we went over to the new playground, and they didn't want to let us play. So I had to pack all of my stuff, everything that was me, into a suitcase that I owned. And me, Morgan, and all of us, a bunch of people there, you know, we left. And we left, and it was like bittersweet. Like that was a part of us, the two playgrounds, but we were no longer part of it. So we
Yeah.
were going off to create something new, which I figured was like New Earth Grid. And it was interesting because our memories were intact. We remember all the experience that we had and all the wisdom that we gained. And it wasn't like coming to Earth where everything gets wiped out. It was like coming to Earth and you had everything in your conscious memory. So it
Yeah.
was pretty cool. It was pretty weird too, but there was a lot of purging in that dream too. So it was
Incredible.
good. It was good.
Incredible.
It was good seeing you again. It was really good seeing you again.
Likewise, I really, really enjoy these conversations. It's amazing, and everything you do, I, I don't understand how it's possible, And there's so much coming out from you as well. Like you have so much code that you're sharing, just your frequency. It's
I don't
amazing,
know.
and the
I feel like
ability you have to, to make people feel safe. That I watch on other shows as well.
well,
It's
I don't
great.
know. I'm just
You
showing
do
up
an
and
amazing job.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm just showing up and I can feel something changing everywhere. I can feel something really big changing with Soulogy. I don't know what that's going to be, but it's crazy you say something like that because I'm like right now I've had a headache the whole time. This whole show I've had a headache.
Me too.
Right? Have you? Yeah, I think that's happening too, though. These energy headaches. I've had stuff going on with my sinuses for the last few days, which is weird. It's not normal stuff either. I've had quite a bit of back stiffness. I had neck stiffness.
Mhm.
And every time I check in, I just get, you're being worked on. You're being worked on. You're being worked on.
Yeah.
And so I must have really done some damage over all these incarnations or something. I don't know.
Oh, I think we've done it all. When
Absolutely.
these memories and stuff, like when they're coming up, like I think back in February, I had this very physical memory of being burned to the stake, and I got like it got really warm up my legs, and I lost all sensibility in my legs physically as I was going through the experience. And I just
Wow.
felt the heat, and I could hear, the wood cracking from the fire. And then I felt the experience of leaving my body, and that was absolutely amazing. So it was like both a really, really uncomfortable experience and the most amazing experience, because I felt, these tones. I saw the colors. I was just swirling up out of my body. I saw everything from above. I was, just that being freed of that pain. It was amazing. And we have these experiences, and it's like, yeah, I got burned because I was talking about these things. But I also have had glimpses of one life where I used my abilities not for a good cause. So, we have all played
Oh
both
yeah.
sides, and it's so
Yeah.
important because there's so much, this past life, and we attach to it, and it's like, yeah, but I did this really good thing, or you know, we
I was
attach meaning to
yeah.
it, and
Yeah. I was Jesus's son. Whatever. No,
yeah,
but yeah, that's a good example too, though, because that's because you have the discomfort, and then you have the elevation or the experience of the expansion at the same time. I think that's a big part of it too,
yeah,
where they they have to go together. Everything has to go together. Everything has to be
yeah.
brought together, which is another thing I can't really get my arms around.
Which
I
is
don't
really a bit above what you said with the cat experience as well.
know.
That you had to sort of shift into that cat and
I
show,
had to be the cat.
we
I
are
had
the
to be
same. That's
exactly.
what you
I
showed
had
me.
to.
Like
Yeah,
I'm not something outside of you. I'm actually really the same as you, because we are all the same. We
that's
are
right.
not like that bad or that good. We are all the same, and we're learning to see it.
And this cat was weird as hell looking. It didn't look like a cat. No, I could draw a picture of it. It
Yeah,
looked
I think you
very
should, and you post it. I would love to see it.
right, but it was trippy. It was trippy. It was so trippy. Like yeah, there's just a lot of stuff I think being presented to us over this last 30 days in all different ways, which is basically stuff being released and stuff being turned on. And so
Yeah,
the yeah, so the like the
I,
release is not always that comfortable, and the turn on is pretty cool,
yeah.
right? Well, like we had another light body experience last week that was
Hmm.
mind blowing. It was absolutely mind blowing. It was just like holy shit, this is not happening. Right. Like
Wow.
it was crazy. Like it went on for 45 minutes here. And then she sent me a message and I said, hey, something's happening. And then she's telling me what happened to her in the previous 45 minutes, which is everything that I experienced. So that was,
Wow.
see, I think more of that stuff is going to keep happening. I got a
Yeah.
message from a lady that was telling me, okay, so she has a partner. He's not awake yet. She has a relationship with his light body to the point that even his light body comes in and talks to her to try to get her to understand the human part of him that's asleep and that maybe mistreated her or, certain things. And I'm like, is that your higher self or is that him? She's like, no, I know my higher self. I see his light body come over and I watch him. Right. I mean, so this stuff is coming online. It's coming
Wow.
online.
Yeah.
And look, if it was that prevalent in the Dark Ages, in the 13th and 14th century, when they were murdering people for being, like us, if it was that and I heard the numbers are 50 to 60 million people in a time when there was much less population. So imagine, I bet this stuff has been going on all the time, every day. It's just not been talked about.
Yeah.
Unless
And
you're,
that's the thing when we now realize that we are actually safe to talk about this thing. It can't be stopped.
Yeah, we're just looking towards the ETs like you to lead the way for us, normal people. We're just following the ET brothers and sisters. All right, you take care. I enjoyed it. This is a great way to start the week. I'm glad we chose Monday morning, or at least it's Monday 2:30. But I'll be back.
It's Monday for me too.
Hey, thanks for staying up late. I appreciate it. This is the earliest I get up. I'm having a real difficult time. I'm trying to fix that, but we'll see. Yeah, so I'll see you later. Take care. Thank you for everything. And somebody mentioned that they had just subscribed to your site. It's, what is it? Heart of Creation?
Welcome.
Is that what it's called?
What?
Heart of Creation.
Heart of Light.
Heart of Light. I don't know why I always say Heart of Creation. I don't know. But anyway, that's it on YouTube. And we'll see you in a few weeks. Take care.
Looking forward to it. Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
Take care.
We'll be back in 30 minutes with somebody.